Hey guys, how are you doing on this wonderful Monday evening? Thank you so much for joining. My name is Shanika Hunter, and I am the founder and CEO of Your Heart's Desire. And if you are tuning in, you are tuning into week two of my course called Master Your Plan. Yes, this is week two. Last week we talked about success itself and your skills, and so we are back for this wonderful week to talk about researching an industry of your choice. So I'm super excited to be here with you. We are live, so I'm going to wait for a few more minutes, wait for a few more people to join, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So just give us a few more minutes, like I said, and then we'll go ahead and jump right into today's lesson, which I'm super excited about. I hope you all had a wonderful week last week, going over all the assignments. If you all have any questions, of course, like I said, I do want to make sure that your answers are, your questions are answered, and so you want to make sure that you reach out to email. Of course, this week our one-on-one sessions will be beginning, which I will be talking about a little bit later, but you definitely want to make sure that you are emailing me if you have any questions. And of course, at the end of our lecture tonight, I will hold some time open for you all to go ahead and ask me some questions, okay? So if no one else objects, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So just give me 1 second and let me go ahead and pull up our lesson for tonight. 1 second. Let's see if it's working. Come on. There we go. For tonight. 1 second. It's working. Come on. There we go. All right, bear with me for 1 second here. All right, bear with me for 1 second here. Hey guys, all right, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Let's see here. All right, so we are in week two of identifying your ideal industry, okay? So that's what we're gonna be talking about today, industry of your choice. So to talk about a little bit of what we went over from last week you all learned all about how to identify your passion, okay? The pre-assessment and action plans were given to you as guides to find an interest that resonates with you. So it is important for you to, if you haven't already, it's important for you to go ahead and complete those activities moving into this week's information, because if you haven't done your pre-assessment or your action plan, you're going to be a little bit confused when going into this week's information. So you want to make sure that that information is completed. All right. So you want to also make sure that you're not rushing through this content. As I put in last week's assignments, You want to make sure that you are spending time with yourself and that you are answering all the questions honestly, because it's only going to benefit you. I don't want you rushing through this process because it can take some time for you to figure some things out. So you want to make sure that you are spending time with yourself and doing your best to answer the questions as honestly as you can. All right, so this week you will be completing a skills worksheet and an accountability log, and I'm going to go over that for a little bit. For the skills worksheet, when that is sent out tomorrow, what you will see is that the skills worksheet will go through various categories of kind of like old skills that you typically would see someone put on a resume or that you may see on a job description. For instance, you're going to see communication skills, you're going to see organizational skills. But what most people don't understand is that under these overarching big kind of words, or it's not necessarily vague, but they're big overarching words, but there's a lot of sub skills that go under them. And so what you will be doing is going through this worksheet and checking off the skills that relate to you. Again, I want to make sure that you are answering the questions as honestly as possible. The skills worksheet shouldn't take you too long, but I do want you to spend some time with it and make sure that you understand everything on there. And of course, as always, if you have questions, go ahead and email me. Now, the accountability log is a little bit different. Since this week is all about researching the industry of your choice, what you will be actually doing this week is identifying 5 industries that are in. Okay, you're going to identify at least 5 industries that are interesting to you, and you're going to fill out a log. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to, out of those 5 industries, you're going to choose one industry, and you're going to start researching open within that field. Okay, and of course, this Friday, your weekly journal, which you will complete this week as well. And I'm super pumped because, of course, this week we begin our one-on-one session, which will be doing to me about different issues or challenges that you may be having, and we'll also get the chance as well to go through last week's assignments. All right. So this week we will be going through the one-on-one sessions. Woo! All right, as I said before. Now, fortunately, not everyone will be able to participate in the one-on-one sessions because the contact form did have a deadline of last Friday at 5 p.m. I was able to give you all a little bit of extra time since I was out, since I was in another time zone. But since last Friday was the deadline, if you did not get your contact form in, you will not be able to participate in the one-on-one session. However, to make sure that I'm able to speak to you, so even though you can't participate in the one-on-one sessions for this week, you will be able to participate in the one-on-one sessions for the following week. Okay, so for next week. But you have to send your form by this Friday. Okay, so if you send your form by this Friday, you can participate in the one-on-one sessions for next week. So you want to make sure you do that. I want to ensure that all you all get the most out of the course. So I want to make sure that you go ahead and get those forms in as soon as possible. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right. About researching an industry of your choice, I want you to think about a few things. All right, based on the information that you went over last week, as far as in the pre-assessment and in your action plan that you like to do, can you pinpoint one thing that you like to do? Were you able to pinpoint what are some of your skills? Were you able to pinpoint some of your weaknesses? Were you able to come up with, a dream job for yourself? Were you able to come up with the ideal location? And what I mean by location is the ideal place where you want to live, where you actually want to, go to work, things like that. And just kind of think about what makes sense in all of this, okay? So even though you may have a dream job, does that dream job fit into your lifestyle? Okay, because it may seem like this is something that actually would never fit. It's just something I like, but I don't really want to do it. So does it make sense? Are these things that will actually fit into your lifestyle? Okay, you want to think about that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into an example. So let's say, for instance, last week you said, okay, well, I'm really interested in the education sector, And what I found from the education sector is that I'm really, really interested in teaching. Okay. So then what I want you to start doing is to begin thinking about the type of teaching that you're interested in. So there's different types of, teaching, and there's different types of realms that you can enter into. Public school and charter school teaching, which goes along with private school, the university or college type teaching, or even coaching. Okay. So kind of identify the areas that you're interested in when thinking about teaching. And again, example, but for you, think about some things that are interesting to you and start to narrow them down. Okay. Then what I want you to do is start to begin researching the information about that industry. So again, if you're interested in education and you say, okay, I want to teach, you want to start researching information about the education industry. Again, looking at the public schools, at the charter schools, at the university, and college, and try to figure out which one one that resonates with you. If you are not sure about the type of teaching that interests you, I recommend researching every sector. That's the only way you're going to find out. So if you say I'm interested in teaching, but you have no idea, like you don't even know where to start, what type of teaching you want to do, research every single sector. Okay, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to things like the basic facts, the employer history, financial information, the philosophy of the company, such as the mission. You want to be paying attention to the culture, the requirements, and the location. You want to be paying attention to all these things with the sectors, because they're going to be very, very vital when thinking about the actual type of sector you want to go into. Maybe you don't want to work in a private school. Maybe you want to work in a more public school where there may be a little bit more diversity, or maybe you don't want to work with children. Maybe you want to work with college age, or maybe you don't want to be in the education realm at all, or the academic realm at all. I'm sorry, and you just want to work with people one-on-one, the things that you want to speak about, and you want to do coaching. So that's why it's very important to research as much as you can to find out about the industry, the sector, the employer, so that you can make sure that it's a right fit for you. All right. So now that you narrow down your search, for instance, let's say I want to be a public school teacher in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. Begin thinking about researching public school positions in our employers in the area. So for instance, if you talk about public school in Raleigh, North Carolina, you're going to be thinking about the Wake County public school system. Okay? So you want to start researching openings they may have in this area. All right, you want familiar find an ideal industry. Finding an ideal industry is more than just looking online and seeing that X employer is hiring for such and such position. Okay, it's really, really about going deep and understanding what that position is, what that employer is looking for. So let's say there's a couple assistant teacher openings here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So of course, they're going to be under the Wake County public school system, but what they're going to be able to tell you on their site is the actual schools that are offering these positions. So what you want to do from there is you want to go ahead and actually research the school. So let's say that Heritage Middle School is looking for an assistant teacher to start in fall of 2016. You don't want to just take it for what that is. You want to actually look at that position, see what the requirements are, and then you want to go ahead and research Heritage School. You can find out about their location. You can look up the principal. You can find the teachers. You can see what the how many students go to the school. You can find out a good amount of information online, the different types of programs they offer for the students. You can just find out a good amount of information online by just searching for the school. So you want to make sure you do that, knowing as much information as possible prior to going into the prior to applying for the job is very, very important. Okay, you need to understand there's a huge market for maybe possibly your type of job. I know for with teaching, there's a huge market for that. So there's going to be a lot of competition, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So you want to know as much information as possible. You want to be able to stand out. So many people do not research prior to applying for a job. Many times, we're in desperate situations, so we just go ahead and jump on the first thing we see, and that's not always the best thing to do. You need to make sure that you're researching, and by you knowing more information, you're going to be able to stand out from other people. Okay. Okay, so I'm still using this same example as before. So I use the charter school system this time. I hope I'm not confusing you. If I am, I can go back and do it a little bit later, but I wanted to give you all an example of research. So let's say you're looking up the charter school market here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And let's say Magellan Charter School is hiring for a missions director. Okay, let's say they're hiring for a missions director. Sorry. Okay, so you want to know a little bit of information about charter schools in Raleigh, North Carolina, because the charter schools, which again are like private schools, they differ than public schools. So if you being an admissions counselor in public schools is going to differ from private schools. Okay, so what you should know is, for instance, I gave you some of the pros and cons just in case this is your area of interest. So for instance, charter schools allow parents to provide more options for their children's education. Okay, so instead of just relying on the public school system, now parents have the option of putting their children in charter schools. Okay, charter schools are constantly implementing new teaching methods to make sure that the kids are learning effectively. They are able to serve a smaller group of students. Public schools are typically packed with students. Charter schools, private, they serve a smaller. Okay. There is, some hardy competition between the schools, to achieve the parent and student satisfaction. All right. So the schools that you can see, they're constantly trying to make sure that they're, in good standing and that they're being the best, so they can attract the brightest and top students. All right. And many of the schools, they have a niche. They carve out a specific mission that represents them and only them. Okay. So those are some of the pros. Now let's look at the cons. All right. So unfortunately, some charter schools are at risk for receiving less funding. Okay, because they are funded based on their enrollment. Okay, that's how they receive their funding, is based on their enrollment. Based on the tuition and the academic requirements, sometimes it can seem as though charter schools operate on unfair playing grounds because low-income families and less academically able students may be ineligible to enroll. Okay, they do have requirements to enter the school. Again, this is private. So one thing that differs from private and public is, money. People will have to pay for private school, unlike public school, whereas you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Unfortunately, sometimes there is decreased diversity and they have less accountability. Okay. So just depending on what you're looking for in a position, you want to take these things into account, because if you want to serve a large population, if you're looking to have a lot of students in your classroom, charter schools may not be the best for you. If you don't want to have to worry about funding and all these things like that, again, charter schools may not be the best for you. This is not to say that charter schools are not great, because they are absolutely amazing. But again, it depends on your preference, which is why it's so important, again, to research prior to just for a job. Click and say, oh, this school is a hiring, let me apply. And you don't know anything about the school, and then you get to the interview, and then it's shocking what they're telling you. Know this information beforehand, so it does not come as a surprise. All right, so I gave you the example of the education industry, looking at public schools and charter schools. You want to do a similar exercise again, guys, when you are thinking about your own industry this week, or your own industries, because again, I'm going to have you pick at least 5. You want to do a similar exercise. When researching your sector, you are most likely going to come across various articles. I want to talk about research for a minute because it's very important. So again, you're going to most likely come across various articles that are talking about your industry of choice. For instance, if you research the education industry here in Raleigh, North Carolina, there's going to be a lot of articles that are talking about the trends of how, education is growing, about the recruiting, about, teachers, about, of course, the pay wages, Jesus, about the pay wages, and things like that. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to the data. That's going to be very important. You definitely don't want to be citing or relying on outdated information. So if some of your articles are dating back to like 2000, 2001, or to 2005, even 2008, I would say maybe even 2010, you want to try to find the most up-to-date article as possible, because let's say you do get to the interview process, you don't want to be citing information, or employer asks, what do you know about our company? And you're giving them information that's years old. That's not going to be good. Now, if it's something like their history that you find in like a 2000 article, that's not bad because the history doesn't change. But if it's something dealing with trends or with pay or anything like that, you definitely want to make sure that you are finding the most up-to-date article. Okay. So you may just be asking, can I just apply for, open positions? What is the problem with that? There's no problem with that. You can do that. But employers are looking for individuals with a real interest in their organization. And by doing your research, it shows your interest and enthusiasm. You don't know how many times resumes came across my desk. And I would go ahead and I would call um, individuals and I would say, hey, my name is Shanika Hunter. I'm calling from such and such company. And most of the time, what I would get is, what company are you calling from again? What do you guys do? What position did I apply for? What date was this? You definitely don't want to ask those type of questions when an employer is giving you a call. That's why it's important to do research. And that's actually why I'm having you do your accountability log this week so you can stay on top of who you're researching. So if someone does give you a call later on down the line, you're not like, oh, who are you? Because that's the quickest way to turn off an employer is by asking who are they. You want to already know this information beforehand. And like I said, if you do know this information beforehand, you are going to stand out because many times people are not doing their research. Okay, so looking up employers. Okay, you want to make sure that you are going. There's different ways that you can look up after you do your. This is after you find your industry. So let's say you find the education industry, right? And you say, okay, I'm interested in public schools, okay, or even charter schools or universities or coaching or whatever you choose, okay? So there's different ways for you to find employers. You can find them by going to their website. You can use different search engines such as Indeed, Monster, Simply Hire, Career Builder. You can use professional networks such as LinkedIn, or you can use social media such as Facebook, okay? All right, now the actual website. Some of the pros of doing this, you will be able to find valuable information about the company, such as basic facts, the staff, the culture, the financial information, the mission and vision, and the culture by just going to the actual website, okay? Is very important because you will have your basic knowledge of information about the company and it will be able to tell you, is this a company I actually want to work for, or is this the one I don't want to work for? Think about if you're looking to work with a large corporation or if you don't mind working for a smaller company. Are you willing to work your way up? Are you willing to start, or do you want to start out at a certain level? Okay, these are all things you should be thinking about when you're researching the industries. All right, so I gave you some good things, but I want to also make sure that I'm giving information from both sides. So some of the cons, sometimes you will not be able to find all the information that you want on the website. Of course, you can always call to inquire about their open positions, which is something that many people do not do. Even if not to call about their open positions, even if it's to call to say, how long have you all been in business? Who is the hiring manager? These are okay questions to call and ask. People think these are taboo questions, and they're not. In which way to do it. Again, this is in a sense, kind of like a game you have to play, but it's definitely okay to call. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, you may not be able to find all the information on their website, but giving them a call is a good way to get that information. All right. So when another way to research employers is by going to very popular search engines, which some of you may already know about. So, for instance, Indeed. I'm going to go ahead and give the pros of this as well. So Indeed is a very popular search engine that houses millions of open. Okay, so again, this is the #1 search engine for jobs. You can find about job position that you want on the search engine because they pull from thousands of positions and they insert those job positions into their website. Okay, using Indeed definitely saves you time because you don't have to worry about searching in a lot of different places to be able to find a position. It's going to be already right there, and by using their keyword tool, you're definitely able to access things much faster. Okay, one of the features that they have is being able to upload your resume to their site. Okay, I definitely feel like this has its pros and its cons. Some people feel like, okay, I have my resume, I upload it to the site, now I'm just going to send my resume to various employers. Well, as we will talk about next week when I talk about your first impression, is that's not always the best thing to do, because most likely if you're applying for jobs on Indeed, you're going to be applying for different positions. You're not just going to apply for one. So if you upload that resume into their system and you send it out to different employers, you're going to be sending out the same resume without updating it, which I do not agree with at all. Okay, that is the surest way not to get a call back from an employer. All right, but that is one feature that they do have, and definitely people do take advantage of it. The site is user friendly, and you are able to have access to email alerts. You are able to look at their salary calculator, and they have more features as well. Okay. Unfortunately, the application process on here is not streamlined. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you go to a open position, you'll click on it and you think, oh, well, all I have to do is upload my resume or I can apply through the site. Not necessarily. Sometimes you'll have to click out of Indeed and go into a completely different site and, maybe even sometimes register on a different site to be able to apply for that position. So it's not streamlined. You can't always necessarily apply right there on the site unless they have you upload your resume. All right. And the last thing is, of course, with this being the #1 search engine, there is a lot of competition. Okay. Typically, those job positions that you see on the first page, they have hundreds of resumes. That those hiring managers and those recruiters have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of resumes coming to them every day. I've spoken to a few who said, on average per position that they post, they're getting anywhere between 300 to 400 resumes, if not more. So think about your resume being a stack of 300 to 400 resumes. How are you standing out? What are you doing out? We're going to talk about that next week because it's very important. Many of those resumes, even though it's a large stack, many of them are tossed because they're no good at position because people are not updating their resumes and tailoring them for that position. It's very, very important. And again, we're going to speak about that next week. All right, so another search engine is Monster. All right, what are some of the pros of Monsters? Well, they're a very, very well-known search engine, okay? Also have a key finder system, right? But some of their cons are the resume builder does not allow applicants to use custom format, meaning that they already have a format that they want to use when putting your information in there. It can sometimes look kind of generic. So when you choose to use their resume tool, you want to have that in the back of your mind. Me personally, I think it's better to just go ahead and have a custom resume so it doesn't have that generic look. All right. Again, you want to stand out. And even some of their sources sometimes are outdated, meaning some of the job positions, and this is even on Indeed as well sometimes, but on Monster too, that you will find that a job position, even though it's on the site, that the employer is no longer looking for that, for applicants for that position. Okay, so they're outdated. All right, so moving on to career builder. Jesus, I always have these like tongue twisters I struggle with. All right, so some of their pros, they do utilize detailed job listings. Their interface is simple, but some of their cons are their job source search is more limited due to them not pulling from as many sources as their competitors. Also, there is not much that makes them stand out from their competitors. Okay, Indeed is again one of the #1 job search engines. You can find almost anything on there, but I cannot say the same for Career Builder because it's much more limited. All right, moving on to professional networks. If you all don't know, but one of the One very, very good professional network that I want you guys to go ahead and start thinking about creating an account for if you don't already have one is LinkedIn. LinkedIn again is a professional network that allows you to connect with employers on this platform. People do post jobs up here. It's just a very, very good platform to use to market yourself. Okay. Some of the pros, this website definitely does have a high SEO, which is a search engine optimization. It is able to bring more traffic to their website with this. So more businesses that are using LinkedIn. So more employers, therefore, are using LinkedIn as one of their methods of finding valuable employees. So besides looking for your website or even applying on the job boards, you want to think about this tool as well as inputting that into your job search. Okay. It gives you a good amount of information about a company. It provides all the professional data you need to know. And it has great networking opportunities because you're constantly going to be connecting with other professionals, whether they're an employer or not. You definitely will be able to get some good information from them, but you want to make sure that your profile is intact. Probably within the next couple months or so, I'm going to be teaming up with another amazing entrepreneur who brands herself as a corporate entrepreneur to do LinkedIn for business. Okay, we're going to be doing LinkedIn for business, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. It's definitely going to be amazing and all the information you need to know about how you can increase your marketability and be able to get hired by using LinkedIn. Okay. Also, LinkedIn allows users to position themselves as experts by using the skills, education, certification, and the other sections. Again, that's what I was talking about how you can be very marketable on that platform by making sure that your profile is intact. And that it looks good, and you want to stand out. So if you have a lot of certifications that you earn, if you have a lot of skills, if you work at a lot of places, you definitely want to make sure that all that information is input into LinkedIn. You also want to make sure that when looking at LinkedIn, it has a profile space. So you don't want to just put any type of profile up there. If you have a whole bunch of selfies and stuff, I would stray away from those. Because again, this is a professional network, so employers are going to be on this platform. If you have a professional picture or a picture that someone took of you that looks pretty professional, you want to think about putting those pictures up here because it will make you stand out and it will make employers want to pay attention to you. All right. Some of the cons. It does require some time and effort. This is a great platform, but it does require time and effort for you to get your profile up and running. Okay, and even for you to start obtaining connections. But again, once all that is done, you're good as golden, and you can just go ahead and take off. But it does take some time, so you definitely want to keep that in the back of your mind. All right, so the next one is Facebook. Woo, 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 woo. All right, so you all, I'm pretty sure all of you know what Facebook is. Facebook has been around for a long time, and for the longest time, it was just used for just personal leisure. Okay, and it still is used for personal leisure, but now more of that business aspect is starting to link into Facebook. So now a lot of businesses, hiring managers, recruiters are now on this platform to find valuable candidates. Okay, so businesses are advertising to attract employees. Okay, because they are using advertisements, there is a sense of fast action where there are a lot of people who are attaching onto these advertisements as soon as they go out. Okay, so a lot of people are seeing them. Okay, so again, you want to make sure that when thinking about looking up employers on on Facebook, that you also have to take into account that they can see your profile, so you want to also make sure that you're standing out in some type of way. Okay. So many of the advertisements are targeted. So, i.e., like an IT specialist, they need to put up there. They want someone with like impeccable experience, who has experience working with various systems, who has excellent customer service skills and writing skills. However, some of the cons are you must have an account to be able to view the information of you all. Many of you all know that. And due to the advertisements being targeted, some of the interested candidates may miss a job opportunity. Again, this is why I say that it's important to have an interest or two prior to doing your research, because if you already know an interest, okay, then you won't probably miss those opportunities because that's what you will be searching for. So again, that's why I said it's very important with even prior to going into this week's work that you do last week's work. You want to make sure that you are identifying an interest of your choice. It's going to be very important. I don't want you guys getting stuck. All right, so you're probably wondering, well, what should I do? Which one of these do you suggest? Well, my suggestion is like, due to each option that I just talked about, each of them offers up something a little bit different. And because each of them offers something a little bit different, I would say to use all of them, use all of these options, meaning that you look up look up an employer, you look on their actual website, you utilize the job search engines, you utilize professional networks like LinkedIn, and you also utilize social media as well. Again, if you are a social media platform, you want to make sure that your own profile is pretty cleaned up, because again, this is all about standing out and using different methods. If you don't feel like using all of them, I would say use at least three. Maybe research the employer on their website, maybe use Indeed, and maybe use LinkedIn and see how that works for you. Most likely it's going to work good because you're not just relying on one option to get you by. If you research an employer on their website and they don't have any jobs listed, you can go ahead and do some networking, which I'm going to talk about in week 4. Go ahead and give them a call. If you use Indeed, you can see what jobs are going to be posted up there. You can start thinking about applying for them, and then with LinkedIn, you can start getting your profile together so you can start making those connections through there. Okay. You definitely don't want to limit yourself, so you do want to use different options. And hiring managers and recruiters are constantly finding new ways to reach out to potential employees. And with the rise in social media, they are taking advantage of various platforms such as Facebook. And you should be doing the same as well. I know, like I said, social media for the longest time has been used for personal leisure, but now it's switching. And so as the times change, you should be changing too. You want to make sure that you're staying up with the new trends. And that is one of the new trends. All right. So, with almost anything in life, things take time. So you may be thinking like, shoot, dang, I gotta do all this. I gotta research 5 industries, then I gotta find 5 employers, then I gotta make sure I'm taking all this information you said today in. Yeah, it may seem like a lot, but it's gonna take some time. So don't feel like you have to get everything tonight and that it's gonna just come to you, especially if you've been struggling with it for a little while. Give yourself some time. If you don't find an industry or sector right away or on the first day, don't give up. Don't give up and say, oh, I'm never going to find it. I know it can be hard. It was hard for me too when I was thinking about what I wanted to do. Okay. It wasn't easy for me. It took actually years at first for me to figure it out. And once I did have an interest, it still took me some time to hone in on that interest. Okay. So don't give up. Keep looking. And again, in our one-on-one sessions this week, we can talk more about any things that you are struggling with. It may take a few tries for you to find something you're real interested in, but with consistency, it's very important that you are consistent. With consistency, I can't promise that you will receive results, okay? And again, in week 4, we were speaking about another method that works very well, which I spoke about a little bit previously, which is networking, okay? All right. So let me go back to the main page. When I was thinking about what I wanted to do. Okay, it wasn't easy for me. It took actually years at first for me to figure it out. And once I did have an interest, it still took me some time to hone in on that interest. Okay, so don't give up. Keep looking. And again, in our one-on-one sessions, we can talk more about anything that you are struggling with. It may take a few tries for you to find something you're really interested in, but with consistency, it's very important that you are consistent. I can't promise that you will receive results, okay? And again, in week 4, we'll speak about another method that works very well, which I spoke about a little bit previously, which is networking. Okay, I'm back on here. You all were able, but sometimes I know I can have like technical difficulties, so I hope you all were able to be my PowerPoint. If not, let me know. But I do want to open up the floor now for questions. Anybody have any questions tonight? I know last week we had a few questions come in, so like I said, I do want to give you all the chance tonight to ask the questions. Go ahead and put them in the box just like you did last week, and I will go ahead and answer those for you. All right, so I'm going to give it some more time. I'm going to give you all a chance to ask some questions, and let's get this discussion going because I'm super, super excited to be with you all again, and I want to make sure that you are getting the most out of this class. So please, please, please pick my brain and ask as many questions as you can. Okay, guys. Well, what I'm going to go ahead and do is, if there's no questions, I am going to go ahead and get off tonight. I don't know if there was any technical difficulties that were happening tonight. Like I said, I hope you all were able to see my PowerPoint. If not, like I said, shoot me an email or something and let me know. I want to make sure that everybody could receive the information that was given out tonight. If you all have any questions, please do let me know. Tomorrow, you will be receiving your skills assessment and your accountability log for this week. Thursday will be one-on-one session. So again, you want to make sure that you sent me your contact form so that you can participate in those one-on-one sessions. By this time, everybody has all the paperwork. So just go back through your emails to be able to find that one-on-one session contact form. And of course, on Friday will be the journal. So there's a good amount of stuff for this week, but it's good stuff. It's stuff that will definitely get you on the right track to where you need to be. And again, I'm available by email, so I want to make sure that you guys are reaching out to me with any questions that you all may have. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And I will be back on Monday to talk about resume building, specifically how resumes are your first impression. All right. Okay, 1 second. All right, bye guys. I will see you on Monday. I hope you all have a wonderful night. And email me if you have questions. Bye.